Right, I'm sitting here with Tama Potaka, national candidate, actually current sitting MP for Hamilton West. And we got a limited time here, so I thought I might just jump to straight. Tell the Hamilton West voters why they should vote for you and why you feel we need a national government this year versus what we've currently got.
Okay, first of all, kia ora, Lance, thank you for having me. My name is Tama Potaka. I'm the Member of Parliament for Hamilton West. I represent the National Party. I'm the candidate at this year's election 2023. I'm married to Ariana. We have 3 children. They are 15, 13 and 12. And I was brought up in a community in the provinces with a community focus, education, Māori culture and heritage, and a bit of enterprise and farming. That was my upbringing down at Rangitike and Ruapehu, Wanganui, Taranaki and down those ways. I ended up in Hamilton with my wife. My wife is from Road Street. That's where she was brought up, over next to the Road Street Primary School, and then she eventually went to Church College of New Zealand, which is now closed. But the church is still there, the Mormon church out at Temple View. And I've been very fortunate to be part of a number of teams over my years, both in academics and also in work. One of those teams was Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, where I worked here in Hamilton and Te Awamutu, to help people get access to second chance education. Okay. Whānau transformation through education was the mantra, and I had various roles in the Wānanga for a year or two. I met my wife there, and their focus was really trying to help families and trying to help people get re-engaged with education. So I'm big on education. My parents are both teachers. I also work for Tainui Group Holdings as one of the, let's say, deputy chief executives, for want of a better term, but I was the general manager of corporate services and also had a wide ranging role helping the tribe develop and deploy its socio-economic, cultural and environmental aspirations, and helping the tribal business build houses and sections in Hamilton, out at Otakoti, for example, out at Wairere Drive, another example. I was the manager working with people like David Lugden and Malcolm McDonald, develop and deploy sections and homes for hard-working people of Hamilton. The second thing was we were involved in building the base, and I supported the team and was part of a team that brought what was then the largest single-site retail area or developments in the country. And we also helped manage, build, govern the 2 hotels in Hamilton, Ibis Tainui and Ibis Novotel Tainui, and also the Novotel Auckland Airport. So I had a really great experience and great fortune of working with Waikato Tainui for 7 years and being a tono or servant for the people, and got to understand the iwi and others better. My wife is part of the iwi, amongst others, Waikato Maniapoto and other iwi, but I had the chance to be with that iwi and to understand their aspirations as part of a broader fabric of communities and businesses in Hamilton, like the Perrys and the Porters and the Mitchpaws and the Gallaghers and social enterprise like the Wise Group in Manning Street. It was run by a guy called Steve King. Places like CrossFit Waikato and Sweat, just gyms that were just trying to do good things for the health and well-being of the people of Hamilton. My wife and I actually had a great time helping out young people. She used to run a kaupapa called Young Engineers, which was helping kids learn engineering and physics, science, technology, engineering and maths through Lego. And she used to run programs in school, out of school, English, Māori, Hindi, and I used to help her and support her to do that. We also used to run some health festivals, health and wellbeing. So we used to do cool things like organising fun runs around the bridges, but you had to plant trees on the way. So there's some areas down around Hamilton East where there's some trees that were planted by people on our fun runs. We used to run big events out at Lake Karapiro, triathlons. They were based around families and getting families involved in health and wellbeing, not just individuals, because you could go to Ironman New Zealand, that's an individual sport. Yeah. And I used to do those sports as an individual, but I was always concerned with how I'd be running around and my wife would see me for 2 minutes every 6 hours and there'd be nothing for families. So we used to put on events for families called Try Māori for the whānau was the motto, and it was all around supporting people to get into health, wellbeing, exercise, and we still remain wedded and committed to that kaupapa today. what's called the whare tapa whā model, or your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, and your whānau health, and I'd add your language health and your environmental health as well. So those are the things that I've been involved in as part of a team, leading some exercises, but not necessarily being the only person. The thing is that I'm not here for the taki tahi. I'm not here for my individual self. I'm here for the taki tini, for the people and for the many. And that comes off a well-known proverb of our community. E hara taku toi te toa taki tahi, engari taku toi he toa taki tini. My effort is not for myself, but it is for everyone. And that's why I'm here, putting my hand up to be a candidate for the National Party, but to be the representative of the hard-working people of Hamilton West, whether or not it's Glenview, Te Rapa, Pukete, St Andrews, Temple View, Norton, Mairoa, Grandview, the Lake, Deanwell, Livingston, Crawshaw, Rotakoti, and of course that little area on the other side of the river that's known as Woodridge is still part of the Hamilton West electorate.
That's right, yes. Because that's effectively that's always been what my view of what an MP is a representative for the people as a whole in that electorate and that city in general. And I've always had this concept that that's what an MP is supposed to be there for, is stand up as the person sitting in Parliament for their local community.
Yeah, no, definitely. You've got to be an advocate for your local community, but you're not necessarily chosen by every single elector in the electorate. Some people choose other candidates, and that's fine. But if you are chosen as and you become successful as the candidate for your electorate, you have to represent everybody. Yeah. And I always encourage people, even if they don't vote for me, even if they don't like me, if they have an issue that I might be able to help with, or my team might be able to help with, the door is always open for people to come and see me and talk with me, because my role is not just for National Party and Tama Potaka voters, it is for all the people of Hamilton West. And sometimes I can help, not all the time. Sometimes my team can help, not all the time. But if we don't know, we will say we don't know, and we will try and connect you or connect the voters to someone else who might be able to help.
And you're carrying the torch of some good predecessors. Your predecessor in that area was always very good and very, very embedded in the community. Tim McIndoe, he was very involved with the community.
Absolutely, and he served 4 terms as a hard-working MP. I suppose I've been there for 9 months, and I'm just trying to get used to the role and understand how the dynamics of Parliament and representation, both in Wellington, nationally, as well as on the ground here in Kirikiriroa, actually works. And I think I've got a grip on some things, but definitely not most things or all things. But I'm starting to become acquainted with the protocols or the tikanga that attach with being the Member of Parliament here in Hamilton West.
It's an interesting job, isn't it?
It is, because you can't just you can't be a chameleon. You can't be changing your spots every day. But what you can be is you understand that there are many different chocolates in the box of Hamilton West, and each of those chocolates have to be respected, but also to understand and to empathise with the concerns of people. And in Hamilton West, those are massive. Some people would say that the economy, the cost of living, is the number one thing in the country right now. And across the country it is. The cost of living and the economy are absolutely broken, fractured, and led by basically over-regulated and government-led economic failure. What we are saying is that you have to fix the economy. You have to get to the real issues that underline why our economic failure, economic performance has become bedraggled or gone downhill. You have to restore law and order, which are major issues in Hamilton West. Maybe the next biggest or the biggest issue for people in Hamilton West is actually law and order. And then, of course, with our education and health systems, of which Hamilton and Waikato feature, genuinely feature, because we've got a major hospital, the Waikato Base Hospital, and we've got massive education institutions, being the University of Te Pukenga, although the head office of Te Pukenga apparently has been moved to Auckland now without people knowing. So the government has decided, let's just move it up to South Auckland and it'll do better up there. And that's a bit of a concern for people in Hamilton and Waikato generally. So fix the economy and sort out the cost of living, restore law and order, and then we'll be in a position to deliver the health, education and other services we need. Housing's a great one.
Yeah. And do you see that there is definitely a connection between the state of the economy and education to some degree, and the crime rate we're dealing with at the moment. That those are the root causes of that. A lot of that crime.
Well, I think there are a number of influences, and sometimes you can't just point to one cause being the same cause for everybody who's undertaking criminal behaviour. Yeah. I don't think that's true, but I think there are a range of circumstances that are influences that are contributing to the lawlessness that we face in Hamilton on a regular basis. That's a daily basis. As you know, and I know, Hamilton is described as the ram raid capital of New Zealand for a reason.
It's not a reputation I'm proud of.
No, and that's not where we want our great city to be. But what we have to do is sit back and say, okay, what are some of the challenges that we're facing? Why have we got to this space? Why have we got to this situation? The economy, definitely. Also, housing, education contribute to that quite difficult space where people may not think that they've got a chance at life. Young people especially may think, actually, I prefer to take the risk of ram raiding someone's shop and stealing their gear or violently assaulting people in order to get a couple of bottles of Coke or a couple of vapes. Well, that's not the space we want to be in, and we've got to give people a chance, and we've got some ideas around that, to actually realise their potential. And Hamilton has got enormous potential. In fact, I would say that Hamilton is one of the most potential-filled cities in New Zealand. Not because we've got the youngest population or the second youngest population of any city in the country. Not because we've got the longest river that runs through our city. Not because we've got some of the largest tertiary institutions in the country, but because this place is beautiful. And because the people are beautiful. What we have to do is figure out how can we realise that beautiful potential this side of Papatuanuku in order to make our city even better, but importantly, give people a chance to reach their aspirations and goals in a safe, prosperous and successful country. That's what we call home, Aotearoa, New Zealand.
I get the feeling you're talking about bringing back hope for people, for a certain number of people.
And it's not the government's role to be the torch of hope. I don't think it is. I think it's actually the government's role to support those that bear hope. To support those that hold the torch of hope, whether or not it's a church, whether or not it's a community, an iwi, a school, a business. That's something that we're pretty passionate about in the National Party, that we've got to enable the conditions for businesses and communities to thrive. Right now, we've got government-led economic failure. Yeah. The government has become too big compared to business and compared to communities, and it's starting to monopolise the space. Housing's a phenomenal example for that, particularly in Hamilton, where you have 750 kids living in motels and waking up every day in motels. That's 2 schools.
That was quite shocking when I heard that last night at the meeting last night. That was quite shocking to me.
No, it's not only shocking, it's fiscally irresponsible.
Yeah.
When you've got $27 million a quarter being paid to the motel owners to keep people in motels, that is unreasonable. That's $110 million that could be used per annum building houses for people, and it's not. And that's what we are stepping back and saying. You've got to prioritise these kids in cars and motels and get them out. And we can do that through moving the dials in the housing system, moving the incentives and making sure people who are in community housing providers, who are part of the community, raise their head and say, actually, I'm going to go all out and try and house people who are in motels. There are some good people here. There's a youth trust run by a young rangatakapu called Mahia Joyce over at Silverdale, or over that way, housing young rangatai between, say, the ages of 14 and 24. Absolutely awesome, Mahi, that she's doing. There are other people like the Wise Group who are very well known. They do a lot of good things. You remember that kaupapa, the People's Project, helping homeless people get into homes. Absolutely fantastic. Those are the types of organisations that we need to be powering up with $110 million a year that is being used right now for housing people in emergency motels. We should be using that type of resource to help those people that are dealing on the front line of social service, housing for those that are in need.
Cool. Oh, is there any one last thing you want to say to the Hamilton Westies?
The Westies. Well, look, hey, I'm pretty clear about the things that I've been fortunate to be a part of. I've been part of a team. I've been part of teams to help grow not only Hamilton West but other communities throughout the country. Whilst I'm the spokesperson for the National Party on Māori development and social and emergency housing. My team and I, if we can help you do things, if we can help you with whatever challenges you might have, it could be housing, it could be immigration, it could be business promotion. If we can help, then we will help, and it doesn't matter if you vote for Tama or for someone else in this campaign, or for National or another party in this campaign. Definitely for the election, I'd like to propose that you consider voting for National, party vote National, and candidate vote Tama Potaka. We think that the biggest challenge right now in our communities is the cost of living and the economy. We really need to get our country moving again and back on track. We've gone from $5 billion debt, and we're going to peak out at about $100 billion debt in a year or two. That's like raising a mortgage from $5 on your house to $100. That's a huge change in 6 years. You've got 25,000 families on the social housing wait list. 6 years ago, it was about 5,000. You've got 4,000 adults and about the same again children in emergency housing waking up in motels and cars around the country.
Holy crap.
You've got an extra 65,000 who have gone on main benefits in the last year, and of those, 32,000 are Māori. You've got a lot of our rangatahi, our young people, who are not turning up to school regularly, and that's an absolute crisis. We need to figure out ways how we can engage our young people, get them enthusiastic about school or learning. It could be at the wānanga, it could be in trade training, and make sure that we don't leave these young people behind. If we can restore the economy and get the cost of living under control, sort out the crime, law and order issues that are confronting us in Hamilton West and nationally, and provide the frontline services in health and education that we all need, we think we can get the country back on track. And if we want to rely on the collusion of chaos that exists on the other side of the political ledger and voting for parties like Labour, the Greens and others, then I think we're going to be in a very, very chaotic situation. You can see it now. People feel unsafe. People feel that they've been ripped off when they go to the petrol bowser or the shop. People feel like they're not getting seen up at the hospital or with their GPs, and their kids aren't getting to school. In that situation, there's only one way. Party vote National, back on track. Kia ora tātou.
Oh, and if you got any questions, watch out from wandering around town at different things, and they can always track you down.
Oh, you can track me down.
If they got any questions.
Absolutely, I've got an office just across the river here, and look forward to your support in the upcoming election.
Well, thanks very much for your
Ka kite
time,
anō.
and good luck.
Yeah, stay strong, Hamilton West.
Enjoy the fight.
Happy times. Ka kite anō.
Kia kaha.
Thanks, mate.